So we're here in the WID studio with Brandon Ehrhardt, VP Marketing, Expedia Group. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today.
An absolute pleasure to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Right. I want to start off by asking you, what are your views on brand marketing today in relation to AI and social media? Because there are so many factors that come into play, right? And so many channels to reach consumers. So what makes a brand in 2025? And I guess moving into 2026.
Yes. Well, first you've got to be authentic. And I think that means that you need to be responsive. You need to be relatable. Most of all, you need to be personalized. I think one of the pitfalls of AI, there are many great things, but one of the pitfalls is when you become transactional with AI, those brand moments don't last. It's kind of like the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long, because maybe you win that first transaction, but if you haven't built that authentic connection with the customer or the traveler, how can you expect for them to come back? Right. They're going to be looking for the same type of experience with another brand if you haven't made that full connection.
Right. It's like the thing that's happening with AI now. There's so much content creation. Like AI can do anything for you, but at the end of the day, if you don't put that human element into it, then it becomes AI slop.
AI slop. That's like the new buzzword this year, right? And I think we've all experienced AI slop. And just because you can both create content or creatives doesn't mean that more is necessarily better. Right. It's got to create that authentic connection.
Right. Will Expedia be investing more in B2C marketing, especially in Asia, I guess I'm asking, and if so, how and where?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and absolutely. Personally, I love this region. I think one of the nuances of this region is there's not something that is like the Asian traveler. There are so many languages. Just in this country alone, right, you have 4 to 5 languages that are spoken predominantly. And so what Expedia Group's really trying to do is to create this authentic storytelling and do so regionally, really connecting with the customer. And so, of course, we'll be expanding, the way that we talk to these customers and telling that regional storytelling in a way that feels authentic to that traveler, so that they know with Expedia Group, we understand their needs, we can create an offering for them that is compelling, and it's not just something that we're giving to everyone. It's really bespoke and really connected to that story that we're trying to tell with that specific country or that specific city.
Right. So I want to draw your attention to the Unpacked 26 survey highlights that just came out, right?
Super exciting.
Super exciting. And sporting events have become like a huge trend recently, and they are projected to be a huge trend next year as well. And it also zooms in culturally on unique sports, right, like sumo wrestling in Japan or kickboxing in Thailand. Why do you think sports tourism has become so big in recent years and has had such a big boost in recent years? And what is really fueling this?
Yeah, it's connection. And I think it's, when you hear sports, I think that historically we've thought like this is a very, specific audience. But really, sports is something that builds connection, right? So I think 61% of Singaporeans are telling us that they're interested in traveling and experiencing a sporting event. And I think it's a great way to experience the culture. Whether it's going to a football game in Anfield to see Liverpool or a sumo wrestling match in Tokyo, there's something about sitting with the local people and sitting with the people who really, contextualize that location. And to me, it's just such an awesome experience to meet new people and to really get a sense of what this city is about. I'll give you an example. I was at Formula One Sunday in Singapore. Amazing event. Nice. The city did a fantastic job putting the event on. And to my left was a group from Brazil. To my right was a group from Bristol in the United Kingdom. And they had all traveled for this sporting event. And the thing that the 3 of our groups shared when we were connecting during the race was just how awesome it was to see this city come to life behind a sporting event. So if you think about the individual traveler, they're getting to experience not just an exciting sporting event like a race or a sumo wrestling match, but also the culture and the people that come with it. And I think that sense of authenticity and the local cuisines and the local drinks really give you an all-inclusive experience to the destination. And I think that's what's really driving and fueling that sports tourism boom.
And it's also so different, watching it on TV and watching it live.
You can't compare it, right? It's like you can't smell it. You can't hear it quite as loudly. And trust me, it was plenty loud on Sunday at the Formula One race. But it's a way to be completely immersed. And everyone's there for the same reason. Even if it's, a football match and you're cheering for 2 separate sides, there is that connection because you're there to experience the same thing.
Right, right. The Unpacked survey also lists readaways as a big trend, right? So people go to these quiet countryside homes to relax and read a book. And on the other end, you have set jetting and sports tourism. So they're like opposite ends of the same spectrum, sort of. How do you choose which brand voice to focus on and invest in more? And if not, how do you leverage rising trends on opposite ends of this scale? Like one's very quiet and the other one's very loud and very active.
Indeed. The nice thing about travel is you don't have to pick a lane. And, a traveler could be traveling 1 month to go get away and unplug from the world, read a book. And then 2 months later, they could be traveling for the World Cup, or they could be traveling for a different, completely different type of event, maybe going to the hotel where they shot White Lotus. Yes. And the nice thing about our brands is we want to create that offering for each of those different experiences. So regardless of the trip that you're trying to take, there's going to be something that compels you to, really dive into that local destination, experience it, and get out of it what you want to get out of it, whether that's reading a book, seeing a sporting event, or, potentially just going on a food excursion and trying some excellent cuisine in a different country.
I like that you mentioned Thailand because they benefited so much from set jetting this year.
It's crazy.
Because of HBO.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And I will tell you a quick story. White Lotus has been probably the poster child for set jetting. And I remember looking during the second season, sitting on the couch, looking at this hotel, and I looked up which hotel it was. And it was, it's a property that was in Italy. And I saw the price. And then just 18 months later, recently, I went back and looked, and the price has doubled. So they're clearly selling that experience. But I think set jetting is such an interesting trend because it's so cool to be inspired from your couch, right? We all think about the term couch rotting. It's cool that while you're couch rotting, you can be inspired to travel to a new destination that you've never been to.
You're thinking about where to go to next.
Exactly. It happened recently. I was watching a show called Bad Sisters. It's shot in Ireland. Yeah. It's beautiful. I had no idea that there was all this amazing, cliffs and the juxtaposition of the ocean and these huge cliffs, and you're swimming in this cold water. Not something I would have woken up in the morning and been like, oh, okay, I'm going to go look that up. I see the show. I've now started to research the destination. So you can see that inspiration really come to life, whether you're watching a show, listening to a podcast. There's just something about hearing the location, picturing it in your mind, seeing it on the big screen, and then booking that trip and saying this is really cool. This is really unique. I'm going to go live like they did at the White Lotus, or maybe like they did during the show, the Breaking Bad in Albuquerque, right? You see this house in Albuquerque that's just has an influx of tourists. They got to put a fence up. Yeah. Personally, I live in Chicago, and the Home Alone house is not too far away from me.
Oh, nice.
So each year in December, you'll see this traffic, and everyone's like, oh, what's this? It's literally a line to drive by the house in the car. So it's really cool to see us capture this intent by the traveler and to allow travelers to find these places and book them on our sites.
Right. Was there a trend in the Unpacked survey that took you by surprise that you didn't expect to see that's projected for the coming year?
The staying power of set jetting this is the third year I think it's been included in the Unpacked report, and that staying power tells me that this is not necessarily just a trend that's a flash in the pan. It's something where people are able to see this and experience it. I remember the first time I saw the word set jetting, and I sent an email back to the person that wrote it to me, and I said, I think you got a typo. I think it's jet setting. And they're like, no, it's set jetting. You're jetting to the set. And it's incredible to see that staying power that trend has had.
Right. In your opinion, are travel brands in Asia doing enough to capitalize on these rising trends, the growing trends especially, the ones that are not as big yet? Are they doing enough?
The nice thing is that I like to talk about the travel pie. And the nice thing about brands and their the way that they try and compel travelers to book is that there is a slice for everybody. And so I think there's some opportunity to lean into regional storytelling and give people a reason to book, right? So we talked about sumo wrestling. As someone living in Chicago, this is not a topic that I come across daily. So as regional brands were to tell that story about an experience I could have, that's something that would bring me to that destination, right? We know how social media has changed the game, right? 60% of people in Asia are using social media to be inspired. 75% of them are using influencers. So if you think about the way that you can tell that story and you do it authentically, you maybe do it with an influencer that's experienced the destination and connect directly with that audience, there's opportunity for everyone. So I think at the end of the day, as we really want to grow travel at Expedia Group. Travel, we believe, is a force for good. And so as we expand, into new markets, we're not doing so oppositionally with other regional brands, like where we think the opportunity is to really connect with the local traveler and tell them a story that's going to get them to book.
Right. Just going back to set jetting for a bit, because it's such a hot trend and such a hot topic, right? A few destinations have been named as like prime destinations for next year, for 2026. And that's also because of pop culture, as you mentioned. Every time I see a new set jetting destination, you have to wonder about over-tourism, and then that question pops up. And I'm wondering, is this where the new smart travel health check comes into play, right? Or what is Expedia Group doing to sort of, not to say mitigate, but tackle the question of over-tourism?
Yeah, so this is an initiative that we partner with the WTTC on, and it's really about trying to mitigate and draw awareness to over-tourism, not just to the site itself, but also how it impacts the locals. As you can imagine, as you have an influx of travelers to potentially a destination, there may not be the infrastructure to support it, and that can become quite cumbersome for the local traveler, whether that's an increase in traffic or that is they're unable to experience something that they were experiencing because there's all these tourists. We want to be aware of that, and that's why we've created this partnership. And so far, I think it's been very interesting to see some of the data from that, and I think it'll be something as we promote set jetting. Hand in hand, we need to also be mindful of over-tourism. So whether it's set jetting or readaways or any of the other trends, we want to do so with a mindful eye towards sustainability and to make sure that we're good stewards for the industry, right? And that means that you've got to have an awareness of over-tourism. And I think Expedia Group's done a really nice job being at the forefront of that initiative.
Right. You mentioned an interesting piece of data, would you be able to expand on that?
On which part?
For the smart travel health check.
Data
that's coming in.
So the data that's coming in is still pretty nascent, and so we have not I don't want to get into the specifics of that, but I think what we've seen so far is it is able to identify over tourism. Like for LA, if you ask me specifically, I'm not exactly sure, but we've been able to identify these trends and hotspots, and we're able to work then with the local folks on the ground, whether that be hoteliers, to make sure that we're creating an experience that is actually sustainable.
Right. So looking ahead 5 to 10 years, since the theme of the show is the next 20, so looking ahead the next few years, right? What do you think will be the evolving role or skill set of a marketer in travel tech, whether it be for OTAs, platforms, hotels? What capabilities do you think are underdeveloped today but will be essential tomorrow?
Yes, so I do not think AI will replace jobs. I think the future of marketing is still human, but it's a human that utilizes AI. So perhaps AI allows you to be a technologist. It perhaps to improve your creative skills. And the theme of being like a generalist in marketing, I think will become more approachable because you're able to get these specializations via AI, so that one day perhaps you have your marketing operations hat on, the next day you have your creative hat on, and you're able to do more things because AI is really helping you, and what the human is doing is ensuring that there's a connection on the other side. I think in our experience with AI, and we talked about it up front with AI slop, is sometimes the connection's not authentic. And so to me, the future of marketing is still human. It's human supported by AI though.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you so much for your time.
Excellent. Thanks so much for having me, and congrats on 20 years.
Thank you.
For the next 2 hours.